Hello, good morning. Good morning, Phil. Good morning, everybody. Hello, how are we? The last Thursday in July. And we're painting like Monet today. Ooh. Somebody just dropped something, came and dropped something off while I was preparing, so it's thrown me for a minute. Morning, Janice. How are you? So I'll talk to you a little bit about Impressionism. Good morning, Louise. A little bit about Impressionism as well. So I've chosen this scene, which you may not be familiar with. It is a Monet. Morning, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good day. It is by Monet, and in fact he painted this scene a lot, and it is this one is called Morning on the Seine, on the Seine, sorry, painted in 1897. And he painted loads of different views of this, because this is in Giverny, near to where he lived, and it's just his local river scene that he painted. And as Monet was Monet, he got obsessed with colour and tone and light. So he would go to the same spot at different times of the day and paint it, like he did with haystacks, Houses of Parliament, lily pads, loads of things. He got quite obsessed with the whole how light and the time of day affects colour. He's also famously quoted as saying that you shouldn't spend more than half an hour painting outside. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you could, or he did, a whole painting in half an hour alone. Although some of his paintings are around about A3 size actually, and could easily be done in half an hour in his style. But what he means is, within half an hour, the light stays the same. Beyond half an hour, the shadows change, the light changes. So in order to do the same painting over a period of days, he'd have to go in the same kind of weather at the same time of day at the same season to get the same light source and the light effect. Does that make sense? So he'd sort of do all sorts. I ought to jump on Discord really, in case anybody's on there. Can't find my headphones this morning. I'm glad you took a break, Nick. Look, back breaking work. You need to take a break. Let me just switch. I'm all discombobulated this morning. Yes, hello, Nick. Hello. There is a big delay today. I'm alright, how are you? Yeah, well, you would be aching. This is why you need to stop and do some painting. Right, so at the time of Impressionism, the world was changing. We've got the Industrial Revolution. Paris was the seat of art and creativity at the time. However, lots of things led up to Impressionism. I won't talk about the Franco-Prussian War, because that was a big jump and a jolt in the Impressionist movement, and it meant that the first Impressionist exhibition did not start till 1874, even though everybody was meeting in cafes and what have you in the 1850s. So over here, at the same time, we'd got the Pre-Raphaelite movement, which was going backwards and harking back to ancient Renaissance skills, whereas over in Paris, we've got the Impressionist movement. Now, Impressionism is a derogatory term, or was a derogatory term, meant as a slight because it wasn't proper painting. It was hated, nobody liked it. But there are a few things that made the difference. So In terms of art, in the art world, all brushes were round, like a watercolour round brush, until you went into the realms of larger painting or decorating brushes, and they'd be bound in a similar way to this hake, in a Chinese way. So instead, this is a plastic ferrule, but they would have used quills, hollow quills, that have cut quills to get the width of different sizes, goose, hen, eagle, that sort of thing, to get different thicknesses of the ferrule. So you either had round brushes or big flat brushes. But what happened was that during the Industrial Revolution, they worked out that they could make a metal ferrule, and which is what we have in our brushes now, a nice metal ferrule. And they found out if they flattened it, you could get a flat brush like that. So flat brushes was the biggest thing, and that helped Impressionism painting, because it's nearly all done with flat brush work. The other things that were brand new at the time were tubes of paint, trains, portable easels. So with all of those things, it meant Impressionists could paint outside. Now Monet was trained to paint outside en plein air by Eugène Boudin, Mr. Sausage. And Eugène Boudin was an older artist who saw Monet's talent as a youngster when he used to do caricatures in the local art shop window. And so Boudin trained Monet to paint outside. Monet would wear black, so the light would not reflect off his clothing onto his canvas, to change how the colour looks. So there's lots of things he did to make it work. And the reason why I've asked none of you to draw first is obviously he wouldn't have sketched it in pencil first. So where possible, we're going to use flat brushes, if I don't throw them all over. A few different flat brushes there. Now, Monet's got a distinctive painting style, and in fact, Monet's painting called Impression Sunrise, which was at the first Impressionist exhibition. By the way, the original group of artists were called the Anonymous Society of Painters, Engravers and Sculptors, not Impressionists. And his painting, Impression Sunrise, which is a dock harbour scene at sunrise, is what led the journalist... that's all right, Sarah. I haven't started yet, you haven't missed much. It's what led the journalist to call it Impressionism. Now, we will paint in a second, but this is important. It's only 8 minutes past 10. And we can wait for Sarah to arrive. There is a word, and I've just got to check the word because I can never... Mimesis. Mimesis. It's where we get the word mimic from. And it can be translated in two ways. Representation or imitation. So if you imagine you've got a sideboard, an old sideboard that you've were given, an antique sideboard, and you take it to an antique dealer because you're hard up and you need a bit of cash, and the antique dealer says, right, this is an imitation Chippendale. What happens? It devalues it because it's an imitation. It's a fake. Whereas if he said, yes, this is so-and-so's a representation of a Chippendale, it's still valuable in its own right. So think of Impressionism rather than imitation, but representation. It's the artist's representation of what they see. The colour is all there, the shadows are all there, but just the way it was painted is very different. The way it was represented was very different. I often view Impressionism as painting or viewing an image through frosted glass, and in fact, if you look through frosted windows, it looks very much like an Impressionist painting. So there you go. There's a little bit of Impressionism talk which is, I think, crucial to understanding Impressionism. Now, Monet's style, particularly for water, but he did it a lot as he got older, were broad strokes, flat rectangular strokes, and that's known as tache, Tache, which means stain or mark, because he marked the paper, the canvas. And what that does is it actually enables you to work very, very quickly, and create different textures. So you can see on the photograph, the painting reference at the top right, that we've got those broad strokes, but they're going in different directions. For the tree on the left, they're coming downwards. For the water, they're going across. So it's a great way to create planes and directional shading. They're sort of in a curve for the background tree on the right hand side, and they're in a flick upwards for the clouds. So there's lots and lots of use of this tache style of painting that was started off unique as a Monet thing. Now Sisley, who was a British impressionist living in France at the time, he sort of emulated Monet's style, but not as well, in my opinion. And Monet was one of the few artists that exhibited as often as he could, and he was the few artists to make a living, expensive living. He was famous for his Impressionism, enabling to travel the country, travel the world. He was selling in New York, selling in England, and in fact his first big exhibition was organised by Theo van Gogh, Vincent van Gogh's brother, who was an art dealer. So there's another interesting fact. Anyway, I digress. Right, I'm going to sketch this using ultramarine blue paint and a small flat brush. So I'm just going to pop in where I want the water line, because all of this is going to get covered. So I'm sort of sketching. Now, Monet's canvas is slightly more squared than mine, so I'm going to have a few more bits attached to it. Warm blue. Hello, Sarah. Hello. You got your internet sorted. Now, what you might find as well is that it's okay to have some blank bits of your canvas showing through. We will be filling most of it up, but it works to do. So little short dabs. Don't try to be perfect with your brush strokes. Keep them short, strokey, stabby dabby. Do you like my my terminology for today? Stabby dabby. I've never been there myself. I've never been stabby dabby, no. Did you know that people in Dubai don't watch the Flintstones, but those in Abu Dhabi do? I know you gave up gardening for that, Nick. Right. Yeah, you are here by choice. This is it, you see. Exactly. Right, so I've got that sort of bit. I'm not going to do much with this big tree. I'm just going to indicate where I want it to come out. A few years ago, and I think, Nick, I think you researched this for when we mentioned it in one of the other classes. There was a boy called the Mini Monet. British lad, 8 years old, painting in Impressionism, selling his work for thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. Very annoying, and I'm very jealous. But you know, just the way it is. And he's still going. I think he's not so mini anymore. Probably about 14, 15, 16. Yeah. Well, he was taught with absolutely, and also it depends on how early you can start your training, who trains you, and where you learn, because that's a huge thing as well when you're painting. I mean, when people are, and what I find frustrating about art history and what have you is somebody can fake a Monet, yet that fake Monet is worth very little when compared to a real Monet. Now, to my mind, that should be worth more because he's had to take a lot more. If it can fool the experts, he's had to train a lot more than Monet did to get the Monet style exactly correctly. Monet was just some bloke in France painting a bit differently. That's all he was. I spend all my time during art history trying to humanize these artists that have been put on a pedestal because a lot of them didn't paint with longevity in view. They didn't think of, oh, in 300 years I'll be really famous, kind of thing. No, they painted because they enjoy it. It's only the modern world where artists think about their future in terms of painting. So yeah, it's all about how will my work last. I don't care if my paintings last for 500 years. They probably will, but I won't interest me. Somebody on an art page last night. I'm adding a bit of white here. I'm trying not to add hardly any water, and I'm going to go little U shapes, little squished U's. They asked, when do you call yourself an artist? When you're alive or when you're dead? And I replied, actually, a living artist and a dead artist are exactly the same. The living artist never sells anything and can't get any money, and the dead artist can sell it for a lot but can't get the money either. So it's just the way things are, isn't it? You know, when you're dead, only your relatives benefit from it, not you. Um, and when you're alive, you struggle. You absolutely struggle. So I've got varying shades of white and blue. Don't mix the colour thoroughly, so you can play around with this. I think as well, because the Impressionists used oils, I feel that they would have loved acrylics because they dry quicker and they're far more vibrant. Far more vibrant. So I'm using my flat brush just on its side. Now they would have used hog bristle brushes, so a stiffer bristle that would give them more. You can get totally different strokes with a flat brush than you can with a rounded brush, and that's why their work looked very, very different. It's sort of, as I said, a representation, but more than that, it's Impressionism wouldn't work if they changed other things. Impressionism works because they've using the right colours and the right shading. So it's just sort of like, as I said, a frosted style. If they made the colours go wrong too quickly, like in an abstract or which came later, or cubist, I think it would have been met with even more hatred than it had. And it's because they kept it fairly normal apart from the brush strokes. So we're going to try and work quickly. We are going to not do it in half an hour. We're going to take our time a little bit more. We'll do it in 35 minutes. No, check. A little bit whiter. So you might find this is your kind of style, to be honest. If you like blobby, dabby, stabby, and you don't really want detail, if you're not a fiddly person and you just want to just get on with it and do it, this might be your kind of thing. Slightly bluer. Now to get the thinner edges with this brush, I'm pulling the paint out, flipping it over, and pulling it out again. And what that's doing is it's creating a nice little chisel tip. Have any of you seen this painting before? Or were you? No. There are hundreds of them in different styles, in different times of day, but they're not they're not one of the Monet popular ones. I think everybody thinks of water lilies, the poppy field, Houses of Parliament, all those kind of things, don't they? So Impressionism changed. Pizarro. Um, I call him Camille. Um, he uh, he he's one of the only artist I think in Impressionism to exhibit in every single exhibition, and he adapted his style. Monet didn't really adapt his style because he found something that worked and that sold, whereas the other Impressionists got fed up and disillusioned. It's sort of a funny thing because the Impressionists are there creating a brand new movement, and it's kind of exciting when everybody hates it. But when everybody loves it and they try to copy it, it stops becoming a brand new, exciting art movement. So a few of them then move it further forward to create a different look. Oh, I've put picked up burnt sienna instead of crimson. Oh, hang on a second, I just need to get my crimson. Thought it was the wrong colour. What a wally. It looks absolutely nothing like burnt sienna. Oh, it's going to be one of those days, I can feel it. Right, so I'm going to go with a little bit of crimson on my brush. I'm not cleaning my brush, and what that does is it will create little subtleties of pinks and purples in the sky as it is there. Now don't forget there is no right or wrong in this because we're painting in a style similar to Monet. We're learning about his techniques. If you wanted to get more of a cleaner, he would have probably had several brushes on the go, to be fair. I'm just going to probably try and do it all with one. Add a little bit of white to it if you want. So acrylics, they're usually a bit bigger than A3, so they're between A3 and A2, sort of. I don't know. Yes. It is. So his pieces were quite big. I don't think I've got a size for this, but a lot of his paintings tend to be similar. Will it give me a size? No, it's just giving me an image resolution. How annoying! Morning on the Seine. Let me have a look. Morning on Seine Monet. Let's look at the Met Museum. But it's not exact same one, but I think they're all similar size. Oh, this is a lot bigger. This one's 81 by 93 centimeters. But it's not the same picture or the same orientation. I reckon it'd be about A2, to be honest. No, he did that many. I'm trying to find the actual one on here and I can't find the size because his canvases were various sizes. So yeah, it is harder to paint smaller with Impressionism, but you can cover things a lot quicker. The good thing that we've got here, I'm just adding a bit more white, is that we're using acrylics, so it's going to dry even quicker. Still got a bit of crimson on my brush. I panicked this morning at 7 o'clock because I thought I'd got my art history talk tonight, but I've already done it this month. It's Dadaism next month, isn't it? Da. That's not where it comes from. No, I know. Right, I'm going to stop with the sky for now and see how we get on. I'm not cleaning my brush. I'm going with a bit of ultramarine and a teensy weensy bit of lemon. So it stops it from being such a bright blue, and it makes it more of a mariney, greeny teal. Have you got any news when the mill will be back open, Sarah? No, I'm thinking with our art society. I honestly, I don't think we'll be back this year, but I'm thinking that I'm going to have to give it a miss for another year, because I don't really want to start booking speakers for next year to find that we still can't meet, or I've got to cancel again. Um, it's I think we'll move everybody's membership for 2022, and I mean, our classroom, we're all right here because we don't need to reopen it at the moment. It's not that pressing. And I know, Louise, you enjoy it online, don't you? You're loving it. I do love Impressionism. I've done quite a few. I did a lovely one, and it's gone missing. I did a massive one, round about 20 by 30 inches. So it's a sort of bigger than an A1 style, and I I'd had it for a long time in my own living room, and it had a beautiful pearlescent greens, blues, and pinks frame. Cost me £90. The frame did, and my shop was in Church Lane, which is where the comic book shop's moving to, and I next door Cafe 6 was there, and then that closed down, and Mrs. Bear's Pantry opened up instead, and that was all in teals and blues. And she said, "Oh, I'm really after some art on the wall." I said, "I'll tell you what, you can borrow this Monet of mine, because it would fit beautifully in there." And then she stayed open for a while, but I had to relocate my shop into White Lion Walk. Then all of a sudden she closes, and my painting went with her. So I never had it back. I'd be really annoyed if that happened. What red? Oh, for the sky. What red did I use for the sky? Crimson. So that's your cool red in your set. I've only because it's on my brush. Yes, but you can. So it's ultramarine. So for the sets that you've got, it's warm blue, cool yellow. Um, yeah, a little bit of white would work quite nicely in here. I'm just sort of filling in. I'll use this nice tealish colour to do a few little strokes in the downward strokes in this big tree area. It's interesting style, isn't it? It's very different. I can't remember. You are. Well, it's quite freeing, isn't it, in a way, um, to to be a bit more reckless in your approach. So, basically, how this differed as well from the rest of the world of painting. At the time, there's something called the studio or staged method of painting, which is where the artist is in their studio and they used to, a long time ago, paint it all in grayscale first. Then they would add glazes of colour over the top. Then they would add thicker impasto areas of colour. And so it would take a long time to be built up, which is why on some art history things you'll see, they'll say painted somewhere between 1895 and 1899, because it took them such a long time to do it. Whereas the Impressionist movement is known as, within it, lots of art terminology is Italian, alla prima, all in one go. So here, every brushstroke contributes to the final painting, whereas in a staged or studio painting, it's the opposite way, in that you cover up most of your painting. Have you gone into? We'll do the water later. Ultra. So you want warm blue, cool yellow, and a bit of white. You only want enough yellow to sort of take it off the ultramarine scale of things. Interestingly, artists like Renoir and all of this, he used they used similar colour palette to us. The one that I recommend, 2 reds, 2 blues, 2 yellows, and earth tones, blacks and whites. So it's not new, but it just feels new. I might do a few darker bits with a bit of ultramarine and black. I'm not cleaning my brush again. I'm imagining I'm out there in the field, you see, and I need to... I won't be cleaning my brush all the time. Goodness no, heavens to Betsy, I will not. You can see those strokes. So I'm using, I suppose it's like a 1/4 inch flat. So they can either be dabs or slabs or dots or dabs. Oh, that rhymes. But by not cleaning the brush, you see, you get a lot more tone and differentiation in the images. I'll go with a bit more darker blue. So play around with your colour. Don't be frightened. It's acrylics anyway, so A, we can paint over it if it doesn't work, and B, what have you got to lose in the grand scheme of things other than 2 or 3 minutes of experimentation? Now I have to say here, when you finish, please sign it in your own name. Do not write Claude Monet, because that is illegal. It is not illegal to paint in the style of an artist. It is illegal to say it is by the artist. I was asked by many antique dealers a long time ago, if I gave you a bit of a wooden panel or something, could you do a painting like this? But don't sign it. Just don't sign it. Because what they'd do is they'd then go, well, we think it could be, but we don't know. And they'd give me 20 quid and they'd probably sell it for 300 on the off chance that it could be a real Impressionist painting. Naughty. That's how they do it. It's funny, I'd been teaching an art history course on women artists many years ago, and I went to an antique place, And lo and behold, one of the paintings that was there was a self-portrait of an artist who I'd just been talking about the evening prior. And I said, oh, what can you tell me about this? And they said, well, we can't say it is, but it could well be an Elizabeth Vigée-Lebrun, who was like one of the leading French female portrait painters of the 19th century. Yeah, black with a bit of ultramarine, so it's not pure black. Now, I knew it wasn't the original because the original is actually in a National Trust property on the south coast. So I just let them talk about it. It was very beautifully painted, but it wasn't painted in the right way. That the attention to detail. She did make a lot of copies of her own work. However, I feel that her own copies should be as good as the original because it's her reputation at the end of the day. So the attention to detail wasn't there with her lace work and all of that kind of thing. Beautiful painting though, and it was only 250 for an original. Well, for an original oil painting, so it was well worth it. But if I was going to fake one, I'd do it myself. So it's fine if you've got texture lines in this, not a problem at all. And we'll work on the background, and then we can play around with the water. But it's the light that I think Monet captures so beautifully. If any of you have watched my Paint Like Monet tutorial on YouTube, read the comments because they're really fun. I'm called a charlatan. I'm called ignoramus. Because it was basically my 10-minute video was a 10-minute video on painting in the style of Monet for a friend of mine who's a special educational needs teacher in Birmingham, and she can't paint at all, so I did it so she could show the class how to do it without having to actually do it herself. So it's a tiny bit about Impressionism, and it's a tiny bit about Monet's painting styles. Obviously, I cannot fit a whole Monet tutorial in 10 minutes working on an A4 piece of paper. However, some people seem to think I should. Some people think I should be impaled on a paintbrush and never speak again. One said, I hope this tutorial is for kindergarten children because that's the level you're painting at. To which I could actually reply, yes, it really was. It was meant for children. So yeah, it's quite funny. Interestingly, that tutorial is being used by Newman University Teacher Training College as an example of how to teach. So it's quite funny, really, and it's had, I don't know how many views it's had. It's had nearly 5,000 views. No, 50. Oh, I can't remember. 50,000 views. I've no idea. It's had a lot of views over the last 10 years. So I don't care. I love it. I got so excited when I got a troll. It's no mean feat to get a troll. Eh? There is enough of them out there, and they just sit and they're just very mean to anybody and everybody. No, well, this is it, you see. Somebody said, and I did start replying to all of my trolls, and then I thought, you know what, I haven't got the energy, and that's just what they want. So a lot, because we've got over 5,000 followers all across the world on our YouTube channel, and a lot of our followers were talking and sticking up for them, and a lot of them were saying, well, where are your videos on art history and tutorials? Why aren't you sharing your clearly your advanced knowledge and skill set? Exactly. But Jackie was saying that even on crochet tutorials, people criticise, or you're far too ugly to do one of these videos, and like, what's that got to do with crochet? People are mean. However, if I felt like if I ran my life worried about what people think, I wouldn't dress like an Edwardian for most of my time, and I wouldn't put paintings out in the public realm, and I wouldn't do free classes. It's fine. Art is so subjective. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's fine. I don't care. I know what I like and I know what I don't like. However, the difference is I won't scroll on somebody's Instagram or YouTube video and tell them vocally that I don't like it, because they don't need to know. I'm going to let this dry just for a fraction, and then we'll do some brighter greens and pinks. I want to do right there. It's kind of a how to focus pinky, creamy, sludgy colour as the background trees. So we'll work on that. But it's an interesting process, isn't it? It's not at all how I would teach, and it's not how I've taught any of you before. So it's a really exciting technique, and it's very different. And it's quite fun. It's quite freeing in a way. We haven't tied ourselves down to a lot of detail. I did spend many hours choosing the right image for today, because I know a lot of you are more beginnery, and I didn't want you to feel like you couldn't cope with it. So I thought we'll do this, because even if it goes a bit wrong, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go with, I think, a little bit of cadmium yellow, a little bit of crimson, and a little bit of white. I might use some of this in the rest of the image as well while I've got it mixed. It could be a bit yellowy. I don't know if I've got it exactly the right colour. But what's really interesting, and what I have to do when I'm doing art history lectures, is I can't just plump for the first version of the painting that I see, because there are so many that have been recoloured or enhanced or changed that it's really hard to know. I'm using a little bit of it here. It's really hard to know what the actual colour should look like. So generally in an art history lesson, I'll have trawled through 20 or 30 photographs of the same picture or painting just to work out the actual colorization of it to pick. So this is that creamy yellow, and I was starting to add a few highlights. There's bits of red in there as well. Don't worry about your brushes. That's the big thing. Just shove it on, because what you can do is mix up some of that darker colour, that bluey teal colour, and if it's not broken up enough, you can break it up. A bit of white maybe. You can break it up even more. But what I hope this will do is it will help you come to appreciate the Impressionist style, because what my biggest hatred and bugbear is, and apologies if any of you have ever done this in your arty career, is when anything goes wrong in a painting, what I hate is when people go, oh, it's Impressionist. No, it's not. It's rubbish. It's different. Impressionism doesn't mean it's badly painted. It just means it's painted in a different way. I'm using some neat cadmium yellow.
Good morning.
Hello. So yeah, I don't like it when things are passed off as Impressionism when it's just really badly painted. So either don't do that, please, people, because I will frown at you. And I don't really need any more facial lines. So I've got enough to deal with my eye bags, so don't make me frown. So you're alright, Sarah, being young. Gravity hasn't hit you yet. Yeah, that's the one thing that we can safely say, it will. So this is neat cadmium yellow I'm shoving on here now. It is warm today. That one on, but it won't really do much. Did you run?
No, I don't have any instance. There was a road rage.
I had road rage this morning.
I wasn't driving, so that's okay.
I had road rage. So I want to get this light, this feeling of light. I might use, actually, if I've got some of this orangey yellow, so I've got cadmium yellow with a little bit of crimson loosely on my brush, I can do a few little downward strokes. Can you phone Neil? It's on one of those papers. No, it's either on the paper on the floor under the chair, or where I was working with the stones. There's a sheet of paper on the floor, there's a sheet of paper on there, one of them's got her name on it.
Right.
And phone number. Has that one got it on? Am I writing?
Yeah. Which of it? There's like two in the top one.
Well, either. They're both her number. It just depends
Okay.
what you feel like, just to say it's ready.
Okay.
Because I could do without getting gone. Okay, so I'm just using little thin strokes. So how I'm doing that is I'm pulling the paint out, flipping the brush over, pulling the paint out. We've done this technique for getting thin wedges a lot. But it is useful. And a lot of the colours that Monet would have used, you can still buy today. I might have to mix up some more of the bluey teal colour just to cut into some of the greenery, I think. I dare say. I mean, it's very easy. Although I lecture in art history a lot, I'm not a massive fan of many art historians because they suppose far too much, and they're the ones that put these artists on a pedestal, and they, you know, clearly he was feeling melancholic when he chose this through the use of his blue. It may have been, maybe, that he just had a lot of blue left on his palette and it was really expensive, so he decided to paint a blue painting, because that's what I do as an artist. So I don't know why artists throughout history seem to get dehumanized and made into something that they're not. And it's very normal for an artist to change styles or to do random pictures just to make up some of that colour. Because it was just as expensive then to do, or probably more so than it is now. Because it wasn't fake ultramarine, it was real ultramarine. So that's why cobalt blue was invented as a cheap alternative to ultramarine. Even though I don't think it's even anywhere in the same realms of colour. Thank you. Kathy wanted some crosswords done. She messaged earlier to check if I was teaching. I don't know how to do it, do you?
I don't have. I managed to do it before, but I didn't rescale it. so everybody had to get their reading glasses out.
I can talk you through how to rescale it if you like.
There's paper downstairs there.
Yeah, because I haven't been able to go down.
What's this good exercise?
You can have a look in that bag in a bit. Ancient stuff.
Oh, amazing.
So little angles and little dabs, dots, stabs. What are you thinking of this style? Weird, scary, nice? Well, yeah, it's difficult because it's totally new, isn't it? See, I want to... Well, that's all right. I'm going to put a bit of pale blue sky in amongst this sort of willow tree. Okay. So you need to take it out. So you just got that sheet.
Okay.
And then there's a hint of origami needed. When you put it on the tray, far left hand corner upside
On the
down
screen?
on the screen, like that.
Left hand corner. Like this or like this?
Like that.
Okay.
Good. I thought you would, Louise. I know you'd love this. I'm loving it.
You aren't cool enough.
So then you need to upscale it. So I'm just giving Jackie
So a
directions on how to work the photocopier,
In the background.
which is fun.
They're all different.
They are all different.
So how do you rescale?
I might have to
Okay.
show you
Right.
because I can't remember where it is on the screen. Right, so you go copy,
Yeah.
zoom, 200%. Auto and forward. Let's try one. break it up with a little bit of the lighter tones in here. So there's a bit of white on my, oh, I haven't got my earpiece in, hang on. Are you glad you gave up working in the garden for that, Nick? You have, what, are you getting rid of your lawn? See, I'd be doing anything rather than that, to be honest. I do enjoy what garden. I haven't got a garden, to be fair. I've got a tiny yard. I might come back to that. Oh, it's 11 o'clock, so we might as well have a quick coffee break. I reckon. And then we can play around with the water. Right, so yeah, time for the cuppa. Well, let's have a look at what you posted.
Has it finished already? Nick finished already.
Sarah's just posted a sky. Yeah, that's nice impressionism. Like it. Right, kettle's going on. Clean my brush. Ready for the water. Suppose you want a drink.
Thank you, I would love a cup of tea.
Give you some cancer.
Yes.
Thanks. print off as well.
Make sure you wait till I've finished and then print some more off, just so that'll annoy me.
I'm hoping I'll cave that.
I didn't want to say evening. Maybe 2 minutes late or something.
Because he's tired.
Oh. I thought maybe it was
Only like
sarcastic.
for one.
1 minute late or something.
Nothing early. That's the one me up, isn't it? Don't you know? I'll quick look in that bag. I've not seen it yet. It's off Ryan from Buses. Not talking just because I'm munching a biscuit, but I'll be back in a minute. I don't want to munch in the microphone. You ought to send some photos of those to the vintage art material person on Instagram. I might put a slightly brighter green or something in there. It's not bright enough. What make is that, Reeves?
It looks it, doesn't it? It doesn't say. So maybe not.
What's unusual that it doesn't say? It's right, somebody's gifted us some old antique, well, vintage art supplies. We get given all sorts of things here, but because our shop's quite vintage, oh wow, it's a gorgeous packaging.
I'm reassuring you it says non-toxic.
Yeah.
Oh, that said it's already been used. Might be wrong. I don't think so.
See the box? That is.
It's got a kind of cupdy smell to it.
Yeah, that's from about 1995. That is.
Smells very cupboardy. I've got more of this Marie brand. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No.
Oh look, can I have one each? Matching. I've never heard of that brand. I like the butterflies and stuff like that. That's really pretty.
Okay, I've not had the notification. Oh, I've just had the notification. Oh yeah, nice colours. Excellent.
Guitar, I think.
Never heard of them. Must be 70s, 80s.
I've never heard of this brand, but there's two of them. They look, well, they're made from China, aren't they? Because they've got Chinese on them. This looks odd, doesn't it?
Japanese.
Japanese.
Rare.
Is it?
Well, that box is a guitar brand. Have to have a look, see what you can find out. So now we need to look at the water. Oh no, you can come in and browse as well, Phil. As long as you wear a mask, you've got to wear a mask. But it's we're open Tuesdays to Saturdays, 10 to 4. I haven't changed my opening hours, and the reason being is it's just me and Jackie now. So we don't, and by the time we often do deliveries ourselves. So yesterday afternoon when I finished teaching, we were off out delivering. Mondays we deliver. So 10 till 4, Tuesday to Saturday, you are allowed to come in and browse, preferably with your eyes, not your hands, unless you're going to buy anything. Wear a mask, but you are more than welcome to come and have a look and see what we've got. So yeah, you're welcome to come in, Phil.
I'll even chat to him if I'm it.
Yeah, Jackie will even talk to you. I don't know if I will, but Jackie will, because I'm usually up here teaching. But the issue we've got is because it's just me or Jackie. Jackie's hours are, it's the school holidays, so Jackie's hours are all random, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, I'm just doing it like when I can.
And my hours are here, but I'm, like today I've got class this morning, class this afternoon, class Friday afternoon, demo Saturday morning. Yeah, so Tuesday mornings is always a better time to come in if you want some attention. If you don't want attention, then come whenever you like. But if you want some attention, on generally Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning, I'm about, or Jackie's about, or we're both about. Otherwise, my step count increases drastically, and I have to go up and down the stairs to do, which isn't a bad thing. Right, so I'm going to go in with a bit of white and a bit of blue, basically like we did with the sky, but shorter, flatter strokes, more horizontal. Working in acrylics so we can build up. I don't think I've got enough ultramarine squeezed out. Welcome. I can remember going to a museum and seeing a Pissarro and thinking, Jackie, is it Pissarro or Pissarro? Pissarro. And it would be wrong. And thinking, oh gosh, he hasn't even bothered filling in all the gaps. He hasn't bothered painting the canvas properly. What does he know? I was a heathen. But yeah, I find a lot of people think, oh, Impressionism's easy, anyone can paint like that, until you actually try to paint like that, don't you think? And you find actually it's it heightens your appreciation for it far more. See, I'm not a massive fan of Van Gogh's paintings, but I can really appreciate how he did it, because I once taught a couple of lessons on paint like Van Gogh. My word, it's so hard to do. Now I'm toying with the idea on whether I should replace, because Sandra left during lockdown, which was sad because she's been with me not quite for 10 years, because she started with me when I was manager at Paperway. She moved with me when I opened up in Church Lane, and then the double dip recession meant that she had 3 years out, and then she's been back with me since 2016 or 17. She started to cover the shop when I had to leave to go and visit my mum while she was ill. Yeah, she's been with me a long time. So I don't know, and Sandra's role was to cover the afternoon classes and Saturdays. Now the shop is a lot quieter. We're about 50% online now in terms of sales, which I never thought would happen for a little shop like us, because I never did it. Well, I had got an online shop, so I couldn't. But there's a chance that I might have to consider having somebody every Saturday, 10 till 4 on a Saturday, because that's when the shop can be busy, and I also want a day off, or at least not have to stay when I'm teaching full classes or half classes and things. It's nice to have, and I'd got it worked out just before lockdown. I'd had 4 months where I'd got one Saturday off every month as a day off. I'm adding a bit of black to my blue for the left side and a little bit of the right side. What you don't necessarily want is for a huge differentiation between where the reflection is and the trees are fairly blocky and dabby. So yeah, I just don't know whether to take the plunge and get somebody in for Saturdays, or see how it pans out for a while and struggle on my own, because what I don't want to do is have to spend wages for someone who's really sitting there bored because there's no customers and nothing to do. So it's a hard juggle at the moment, because the world isn't normal enough to know what it's going to be like. I know, but you want to do the classes on a Saturday, I suppose. Because you don't do calligraphy. You don't do the calligraphy ones, do you? Oh, you're a star. Thank you. I may hold you to that. I've got this lovely colour. I don't know what it is. It's neither black nor blue nor green nor grey, but I'm liking it. I don't think my strokes are long and thin enough. I think I need to dilute my paint a little bit more. They're too blobby. Although I could technically just paint it all in really dark and then add the lighter colours in thinner strokes on top, which would work just as well. Ultramarine and then a bit of ultramarine and black. But yeah, it's a funny old world, especially if they keep on about a second wave. Although we need the first wave to go before we can get a second wave, surely. If we have an influx in cases at the moment, it's just a surge in cases during the first wave. Although then the WHO are saying that it's not seasonal, so it won't ever just go away to come back. It's just got to be managed, hasn't it? Whether leaving us all up to our common sense is a way to make it manageable, I don't know. Personally, when the vote of Boaty McBoatface was done, that was that to me would have been the indication to the government that we should never be left to our own devices or common sense. Although I did kind of like the word Boaty McBoatface. What a fun name for a boat that would be.
They called that Boaty McBoatface, didn't it?
Well, it won, but they changed it.
No,
It was
but they called the little lifeboat on it Boaty McBoatface as the
the
consequence.
lifeboats, yeah, the
Yeah.
lifeboats Boaty McBoatface. But yes, it is the Sir David Attenborough boat instead. So yeah, so technically, we shouldn't be trusted. To be honest, I'm prepared to do whatever we've got to do to stop having to shut down again, because I don't. Now we've got the online stuff, I think we'll be all right. If we have to have another lockdown, localised or national, but it is an inconvenience. Yeah, I mean the online shop, the online classes. To be honest, I can just carry on regardless. You know, as long as I'm allowed to travel to come to work. That would be harder if they had, you know, more of a restriction on driving. Yeah. So as long as the post office is open and I can do me doings, then I'm not too worried now, because I'm conscious about the fact that, you know, the way we are as human animals, destroying the environment and whatever. There's going to be more cases. If it's not this, there'll be something else in a few years' time. So I need to make sure my business is able to adapt to lots of different scenarios. The only scenario I can't adapt to is if I get ill myself, because clearly I can't teach if I'm ill, or I'll try. You know very well I'll try. Because I'm too stubborn. This is sort of a greeny colour I'm adding on now, but I've not got my lines stripy enough. They're too dabby, and I need stripy. I've done me dabby, now I do me stripy, and I don't want to switch brushes. I'm not going to. So I'm going to have to make the paint slightly more dilute and give myself a nice little wedge of paint. Add a bit more white to that there. If you've ever seen some of Monet's water lilies, not the whole painting, just the water lilies close up, they are just like a big twist and a blob of colour. There's it's all for how it looks from the distance. And with the Pizarro's work, I remember doing art history talk at the Mill. Actually, I did a 12-week course on Impressionism at the Mill, and where we were sitting at the back, it looked like a totally different painting than if you came close up to it to see what it looked like.
Hello, the artery. No, I'm sorry, he's teaching at the moment. Can I help at all?
Now this light colour isn't down the centre, it's the slightly right hand side.
Bye. He said, does the email go straight to you? And I said, only you and me have access to it, but the only people that work here. And he said, it needs to go directly to you. And I said, well, I'm seeing doing the accounts, and I don't think there's any secrets, but I just won't read it.
But you know very well I'll say, oh, can you just check what that email says, please?
He laughed anyway. He said, oh, okay.
No, I think it's funny. It's all right. We've just had a phone call, and people seem to think we're this huge conglomerate when they ask to speak for the accounts department, or we've got 23 different emails for different people. It's just me and Jackie. The only two people have access to everything in the building. So if we get an email, I generally say, and I can't answer it, well, Jackie, can you quickly respond to that email, please? So we've got no secrets here. I'm not one of these nasty people that hides everything from everybody. I work for a company that kept us in the dark for years about everything, and I vowed I'd never do the same thing. I prefer to be open and honest at all times. I mean, yeah, you could tell. I mean, you know, we knew that things were going wrong. In fact, for the one company, that we knew that the building was up for lease. It was on the market, but they wouldn't tell us that it was. And the staff that I was managing were quite perturbed by this. So I phoned up the estate agents, pretending I was interested, and I said, "Oh, but there's currently a shop trading," and they went, "Oh no, that'll close as soon as somebody takes on the new lease." And I went, "Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Could you send me a brochure, please?" And they sent me a brochure, and I got the brochure. I had to look through, and I phoned head office and I said, "Oh, you know, we're a bit concerned. We've heard rumours that the place is up for rent." And they went, "No, no, no, no. That was way long time ago. It was before you were working here." And I went, "Oh, that's really interesting, because I've got the brochure here and there's a photograph of me standing in the window looking out at it. So clearly," and they went, "Oh, well, actually, yes, we were meaning to talk to you about this." Like, yeah, I don't think you were, matey boy.
My company sent everybody in the company an email saying that we weren't for sale, and then the next day we saw it in the Sunday Times that they'd sold the company.
Really?
Yeah.
Jackie was just saying she at the company Jackie worked for sent an email to all of their staff and team members saying that the company wasn't for sale, and then the next day it was in the newspaper that they'd sold the company. And they wonder why trust has gone in the workplace. But no, even during the recession and how bad things were, my staff were constantly updated with how bad things were, because clearly they knew how bad things were. You don't have to, you know, when you work in a shop and you haven't served a customer for 6 or 7 hours in a day, you kind of know that things aren't what they should be. But if I'd have been there saying, "Oh, actually everything's fine," no problem at all, I think they'd have looked at me as if I'd gone mad. Which they would have known anyway. Right, so I'm chipping in with my darky blue blacks. Yeah, that's the trouble in it, Phil, with not being in the class, because often we would provide the materials. You're right, so you'd be able to experience different medium. Yeah, it's hard. It is hard. We're working out a system to do that with our Saturday masterclasses, where people pay a bit extra, and we post the materials off to them, which we won't be doing until September. Is it September, the hair one? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
To trial it out, and then if so, we might be able to, when I'm doing something totally different and totally new, I might put a second price for a lesson, even one of these or something, where we can send you a bit of colour or what have you, to try out something new, because it is hard. A bit like these boxes, you know, you can get like HelloFresh, Phil, because that's where he works, you see. So it could be like an art box for all the stuff that you need for the different classes that you come to each week, attend online. I don't know. There's lots of ways I can think of, or I will have to think of tweaking things a little bit more. But it all hinges now on how long, you know, with suppliers, because there are still so many things we can't get. They haven't made them yet. The factories have been reopened, but they haven't actually made enough, because it's all this just-in-time management of stock. I think I need a bit more white on here. Oh, a wax resist class. Yeah, do you know what, Louise? There's I didn't over order. I ordered a brand of Caran d'Ache pencils and pastels, thinking they were the ones that we normally stock. Oh, Jackie, customer. And they're not. They're a new brand, a new design by Caran d'Ache that are water resistant crayons. So I want to try and do something with those to see what I can do with them, and then I'll do a class with them in the new year. But no matter what happens, the online classes are here to stay. So wherever you are in the world watching, I appreciate it. It's really nice to have you joining us, and I will make sure that the online classes will stay forever, because I wish I'd done it sooner. And I really enjoy seeing what you all do. You know, when you're sharing the work and everything. I think it's absolutely lovely. Let's add a little bit of crimson in here now. Crimson and white. As this is drying. Bits of crimson in the water. Oh, that's just white. If you made a drink, it's probably cold, so make sure you drink it. So yeah, it's we've got no end. Now we've sort of like teamed up with Shop Appy. I know it's not the perfect platform, and it's got a lot of teething problems still. But believe me, there are a hell of a lot less teething problems than if I was trying to just do it all by myself. But it's we've got a lot more possibilities to do a lot more and to go a lot further as a micro little business that we are. I'm trying to chat more to people on various art groups and pages that I belong to drop hints and tips and techniques, and promote the classes in the shop as much as I can. Trouble is, everything takes time, doesn't it? Don't you think? Everything just more time. I'm putting a bit of pink up here as well. We've got the yellows to put on this water as well now. Don't forget the yellowsy greens and what have you. You can still see my canvas showing through some of this. I'm personally finding it a little bit annoying. However, I've got to stop being pernickety about this, because this is Impressionism. It's representation, Barry. It is not a photograph. And we're not aiming for that. We're painting like Monet. You sold far more than you have ever done. So shut up and just paint like Monet. Clearly he knows far more than you. What's that? Well, no, he sold them for a lot higher prices than I ever have. Well, he did sell a lot. I mean, he did sell a huge amount of he was kind of one of the few celebrity artists of his time. Which is why he never bothered to change his style, I think. Yeah, I mean, 20,000 francs he was selling his work for back in the while he was alive, which is a huge amount of money for its time. There's a lady coming in this week for the grayscale crayons that I put aside. They're in a bag. Oh, that is nice. Not a lot more, I wouldn't think. I like that. You pleased with it? No, I think with the left-hand tree, if you look, it's more definite little downward flicks. And what Monet's done very cleverly is he's put the lighter yellowy green on that background tree, so the black of the foreground tree can be flicked over it, so it looks like it's in front, you know. But I take your point. I mean, I've got that issue here on my tree. The bottom left-hand part of this willow tree is exactly the same as the background tree colour, so I might do something with that when I start. Where's my brush? When I start with my yellowy greens. So if I go with a bit of cad yellow, maybe cad yellow and a bit of white, and just a pinhead of ultramarine. So I'm actually diluting my colour now to allow me to be able to do some thinner lines. You could use a thinner brush, of course, but yeah. What, the big one? Yeah. You'll find a sort of natural way with these to make it your own, because when you look, and I've said this to a lot of my art history students, because we were looking at Bauhaus this month, weren't we? And that Nick could not get over. How modern it looks. I mean, IKEA is basically Bauhaus. There are designs from the 1920s that would and are still on the shelves in IKEA for furniture. It's amazing. But you know, when you look at Impressionism was the catalyst for all of this. You look in art history and you see everything is very much the same and boring. Customer. Looks like Mrs. Riley.
I'm going to scare her with my skulls.
Yes, and it's a catalyst, because you've got Impressionism, and then from there, that's where you've got Art Nouveau, Art Deco, Bauhaus, Dadaism, Abstract Impressionism, Abstract Expressionism, Cubism. Oh gosh, loads of others that I can't remember, but they're absolutely amazing and well worth looking into. And it's just that explosion of techniques where people are not frightened to experiment with colour, and I think that's where it was beforehand, especially during the time of Impressionism. In Paris particularly, there was the Salon, which was the seat of I suppose a bit like the National Gallery is, or the Royal Academy here. the Royal Academy really, and that had a set way it expected people to paint. If they were allowed to exhibit there, it would have to follow the rules of the salon. And artists were experimenting because there were new ways of painting, new brushes and all of this kind of thing. And the salon wouldn't allow them to exhibit. So instead, another salon opened up, the Salon des Refusés. And it started selling all the work, or showing all of the work that nobody else would. So artists actually had somewhere they could paint, and it wasn't going to be told that they were rubbish. So once you've got that little bit of motivation, and you've got somewhere that you know will take your work, it inspires you to push boundaries further, doesn't it? So I think it's amazing. I really do. So we've got a lot to be grateful for with Impressionism. Otherwise, who knows how long it would have taken art to change or move. I need to put a bit more blue back in that background, I think. Blue, tiny bit of lemon yellow. I need to define my water's edge. Now I've got this paint a little bit diluted. This is ultramarine, a bit of lemon and a bit of white. I just love this picture because the more you look at it, the more colours that just crop up and appear. I'm going to put a little bit of black in the water now. But imagine trying to do this in oil paint where the colours don't dry for months or weeks. So it would be a lot more difficult to paint all in one go. We've taken over half an hour. Obviously we're taking 2 hours because we can, and we're working from a picture and we're working inside, whereas Monet didn't have that thing. He did paint a lot more of his later paintings, his huge canvases. If you've seen the water lily canvases, they're sort of like 2 meters by 4 meters. Now clearly he couldn't lug that about outside, but he would have done a lot more inside as he got older. And my last fact about Monet is that as he got older, he got cataracts, and he was actually fortunate enough to have his cataracts removed. And once he had his vision back properly, he gave up painting because his later works were so wrong in his eyes that he couldn't do it anymore. There's a painting of his, the Japanese bridge that was in his garden, and the one that everybody loved in the 90s when it was on mouse mats and umbrellas and everything. There was a later version that he did, and all the colours are wrong. His cataract made him perceive colours in a different way. So instead of greens, he saw reds, and instead of blues, he saw oranges. And he painted it because he didn't know any different. And it looks very abstract, I suppose, now compared to what we'd think. And he destroyed a lot of his later works. but some slip through the net. But for me, it's a really interesting technique to work on, you know, how to create different planes of paint, and it's all to do with the angle. So the more, you know, you go horizontal, that'll give you a different look to if you go curved or vertical. No, I know, it's a lot of colours, isn't it? Yeah, I've got a lot of I've got burnt sienna because I didn't need burnt sienna because I squeezed it out in a moment of madness. But I am going to look forward to seeing all of your posts in this, because it's such a, it is a beautiful technique. I might do a Van Gogh one at some point because that's different. It's a little bit similar to this. I need to touch up my yellows a little bit more, and it's a lot swirlier, but quite interesting to do. And I will say I will never do a Seurat painting class. I did one. I did one when I was in primary education, and I thought I'll try it with adults, and it's just as bad because it's just that. So times that. Fortunately, because I'm online now, it could probably work because I won't have to hear it. But having so many dots and dab noises, it's awful. But it's a very colourful way of painting, isn't it? Probably not going to do much more, to be frank. Ooh, customer Jackie. Yep. Yeah, you chose the right shift to do.
Or not, depending on your view.
Well, this is not exactly what I thought it would look like in my head, and it certainly looks a lot better on the screen than what you're seeing.
This is your people for there.
Oh, I've just got to nip downstairs because I've got to carry something very heavy.
Yeah.
Back in a
Sorry.
second. I didn't recognise that.
Yeah. Huh?
Come with.
I will do.
I'm back. I had to do a painting on some, well, not a painting, I had to do some lettering on some stones. So I had to, it's on marble, so it's very heavy, and I forgot to take it down. We only found them earlier today. Good, so you are glad that you stopped with your garden. Ooh. Impressionism does look better from a distance, Phil. You are correct. Oh, that's nice, that, Nick. Yeah. Lovely. Well done. Well, it is round about time that we normally finish, isn't it? So, I haven't told you what we're doing next week, Nick. You know, did you see the Sandra posted a picture from Tuesday night under different lighting, and it's like two totally different paintings. I remember doing a Four Shires article on that, where the difference between using a white light or a blue light or a daylight bulb, or using a yellow light when you paint at home. It's a totally different painting when you look and compare the two. So next week we're doing watercolor, and it's a butterfly on lavender. I don't know which butterfly it will be, but it won't be a butterfly that any of you have done in any of the other classes, so don't worry about it. So that's next Thursday. What were you going to say, Nick? Sorry. Oh, yes. Yeah, my the moonlight one I did in the acrylic class, actually, interestingly, um, I couldn't get I had to turn the lighting down on the phone on my phone camera, because it kept bleaching the moon out. Now normally that's a good sign, it shows that I've actually got the lighting right if the phone can't cope and it thinks it's a real moon. But annoying when you're trying to take a photograph of your painting and it won't work. So I had to turn the lighting down on it. Whatever the technical term is for it. Oh gosh, absolutely, totally different. And that's why with art history, when you're looking at paintings, a lot of them would have been varnished with a varnish that's now gone very yellow, and you're probably looking at a couple of 100 years worth of either open fire smoke or pipe and cigar and tobacco smoke staining the varnish. So they look like a totally different painting when you see it in real life, or when you just see them cleaned, to be honest, rather than when we're painting now, because Impressionist paintings would have been really vibrant. Pre-Raphaelite paintings most definitely were vibrant, because they painted in oils like watercolour with a white background, which wasn't done at the time. Right, I'm not doing any more. I'm gonna stop now. I'm definitely gonna stop. So yeah, the coming up this week, this afternoon is what we'll be doing on Monday night, which is a bear walking through a field of flowers, in watercolour. Tomorrow afternoon is watercolours, and it is Borthegest Beach and Rocks, with rocks done with a credit card. Saturday is a free demo using watercolour pencils to create a beach scene. Monday morning is a 45-minute demo using a baby chick on black paper and acrylics. Monday evening is the brown bear through a field of flowers. There isn't a Tuesday afternoon acrylic class, but there is a Tuesday evening class, and it's elephant and calf in pencil. And the drawing class next Wednesday is beach huts and deck chairs. So, and then that will take us to Thursday morning, which is the butterfly on lavender in watercolour. It's going to be some nice techniques with that. So do tune into that if that's your kind of thing. So thank you so much for your company today. It's been lovely to to have you with me, and I look forward to seeing your mini Monets, to see how you get on, and see what you've created. So thanks so much for your time, and I will see you all in the virtual world soon, or if you call in into the shop, do say hello. So I'll see you all later. Take care. Bye bye everyone. Bye.